I want to take a minute to talk to you about some of the issues that have come up here in the city council and just get you up to date. We've had a lot of meetings that have been by what they call Zoom meeting. In some respects, it's made it more difficult for the interaction that you normally have at a city council meeting. You getting to see people. Certainly, we all want to see each other. And we just concluded a city council meeting in which we had what I considered, or what I call, a one and done budget meeting. And that is just not something that I can agree with for two reasons. One, where we've been in the past, it was lack of attention to budget detail that got us into some very serious financial trouble. Anyhow, it ended up creating a real big financial mess that we had to dig out of. And fortunately, that council back then put this city on a track to be in a pretty firm and solid financial position when the next rainy day came along. And of course, we all know there's a rainy day right now. It didn't happen easily. It took 13 budget meetings to get through that difficult times. And I don't expect that, future budget meetings would have to take 13 meetings, but a couple or three would have been good. And for a couple of reasons. One, it takes time to get your head around a budget. And no matter how much you've worked on it or how familiar you are with the city finances and where everything's going, you need time to collect your thoughts, get a presentation, digest it, look at the numbers, come back with your questions, hear what other council members have to say, and then offer your input on direction for the city. The other thing that's important is the public needs time to come in here and set what they think are the priorities for the city. It was a really short time for the public to look at the budget, digest it, ask questions, and then be able to come in with input. And given the difficulties of public participation, normally in a budget meeting, we would have a lot of people in that room offering their comments on where they think things should go. And there should have been a process, especially with the limited public access to the meetings, to where we could take in that information, look at it, consider it, and then come back for another meeting. Now, I voted no on the budget for a couple of reasons. And not because I think our city is headed into dire financial straits, but because I want to make sure that we're not headed into dire financial straits. We had a booming economy and budgeting based on that. And it was great, easy times to set a budget when you got, when everything's looking good and rosy. But there's no doubt that we have some challenges ahead. The city's going to have to make some cuts. And I think it was prudent to have taken more time and look and make sure that the council's number one job is budget. That's where we set all the spending priorities. Critical elements of the budget, like the year-on-year look, seeing where we were last year versus this year, and using that to weigh the city council or the city staff's budget projections and their projections and their assumptions on where the economy is going to go. This budget is a little bit optimistic on that side. Certainly nobody knows where things are going to go, and my preference is always to budget a little bit more conservatively than what we need, and then to be pleasantly surprised later when things turn out okay. Being unpleasantly surprised with deficits and financial troubles is not the way to go. It's always better to take your time. So that we didn't have. Key elements like a schedule of authorized positions. This is where the city manager comes to the council and says, hi, here's who we want to hire. Here's the positions that we want them to be in. Here's the salary levels that I want to set. We didn't have that for the public, and we didn't have that for the council. And why that's such a big item is the number one expense in any city is personnel, people. We provide service. We don't produce a product. We provide services. And that takes people, mostly people. So to have not had a look at the single biggest budget item in our city, not even a glance at it, was just something I couldn't do. I've been too irresponsible to vote for that budget. You look at the numbers, you get your head around them, you review them, you set some spending priorities, you have some give and take, and you also have time. And in a municipal setting, that includes time for the public to weigh in on the direction that they want to set for their city. Anyhow, I felt it important enough to get to you why I voted no on the budget. I am confident that the moves that we put in place when we were in serious financial trouble have helped us now. So while I'm confident that we're okay there, given the past failings financially of the city and the huge amount of effort it took to recover, and then the very uncertain financial times going ahead, and so there was no way that I could support the budget. So we'll get through this. I don't want anybody to take from this that there's a huge financial crisis coming, but I've always been very careful with the budgeting. It's always been a number one priority of mine because, frankly, money cures a lot of ills. You can do a lot with money. When you run out of it, you start having problems. Anyway, I just took a minute here while I could to explain that vote, and I'll look forward to bringing you some more items going forward. But for now, that's it. Thanks.